Well, good afternoon. I'm Felicia Brown, Senior Advisor at AARP. And today I have the pleasure of chatting with Rebecca Danigelis, our 80-year-old star of Duty Free. After being fired from her long-time career as a hotel housekeeper at the age of 75, Danigelis has become an activist against ageism in both workplaces and in communities. The upbeat mother of three uses her lived experience to educate employers and employees on the values of being age inclusive, underlining the essential of including age in D&I initiatives. And also with us, we have her son, Sian-Pierre Regis. He is the director and producer of Duty Free documentary. So to tell you a little bit about the Duty Free documentary, it is about how personal life journeys intersect with the issues of ageism, caregiving, and economic insecurity for older adults. So before we get started, I just want to show you a little clip to orient you to the Duty Free documentary.
This is my mom, Rebecca.
Hello.
She raised me and my brother in a tiny apartment. To make ends meet, my mom spent 50 years as a hotel housekeeper, and she always assumed she'd have a job. Smile! When I went to college, she cashed out her savings to put me through school. Then all of a sudden, her story took a turn.
I just got fired. They want me out. I've seen it happen with other people in my age group.
Her story was more universal than we could have ever imagined.
There ain't no reason anybody's gonna hire somebody that's 75 years of age.
I want you to write out a list of all the things you could never do, kind of like a bucket list, and I want to do them.
I couldn't get my mom a job, but what I could do was tell her story. Mom, you are on the homepage of USA Today.
Wow.
Hello from Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka, India, China, Argentina, reaching out, understanding the story. One of the great joys of being a mother is to see love come out in simple ways.
77!
You have one chance at life. For God's sake, live it the way that makes you comfortable.
Let's see your best hip-hop move.
It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. This is your life.
So that was amazing. And I'm so excited to be talking to these actress and actress about this wonderful, wonderful documentary that has so many lessons in it. But before we get started, I want to remind our audience that at the end of our discussion, there will be a Q&A. So please be sure to put your questions in the chat because we want to hear from you. We want to hear your thoughts and opinions about the documentary, how it resonated with you, and any questions you might have of our guest, Rebecca, who is our star. So to start off our conversation, let's see this another small clip of the movie.
Just got off the phone with my mom. She got into a fight at work. Not a fight. It was really, somebody spoke to her manager. They got into sort of a tussle on email. My mom woke up saying she didn't want to wake up anymore. She didn't want to live anymore. She doesn't want to wake up to this. So I'm just going to go on Amtrak and hang out with her.
In 40 years as a housekeeper, my mom had a spotless work record. But these calls were becoming more frequent.
They want me out. They're just zeroing in on me, zeroing and put me down, taking away different responsibilities. I've seen it happen with other people in my age group. And I want to make quite sure that people understand that I don't expect this to happen to me.
I was getting concerned, so I headed up to Boston to cheer her up.
Surprise! How's work going?
Not easy. It's fighting for survival, it seems. Do you want some of this? Yogurt and...
No, thanks. But that's like your favorite meal.
Mm-hmm. It's light, it's easy. Sometimes I don't have a chance to eat. Here's your coffee. There's something not right. That's all I know.
And she was right. The next day, my mom got her first written warning ever. It claimed she was being insubordinate on the job.
How do you feel? Do you feel like worried?
I feel like I'm
stressed?
very dispensable. That's what I feel, and that's something I've never felt before. And having done the things that I've done and the things I've been invited to do, I feel like my value is, in their eyes, is diminished. That's how I feel. And it's not a good feeling.
You reached the voicemail, Sian-Pierre. I can't get to the phone right now.
I just got fired. Just want you to know that. Call me back. End of message.
So that is such a powerful, powerful clip that we saw. And so, Rebecca, can you speak to how you felt about your workplace, that when they said you were dispensable? And so given your years of experience and commitment to this company, did you perceive yourself in the same view as the company saw you as dispensable? Essentially, did you own that perception?
I have worked in Boston as a director of housekeeping at 4 major hotels, generally 10 years each. And the hotel from which I was fired was never a hotel. I made it a hotel. The company where I lived in the building where the hotel is housed asked me, said, Rebecca, we're thinking of making a hotel. Will you help us? So indeed I did. I consulted with them while working my other job at a 1,000-room hotel. Every day I'd work the several hours. We opened the hotel. I hired the staff, oversaw the renovation, got every room together at a much lesser rate of pay, which at the time when they said they offered me the job there, I said, I don't think I can take that job because I couldn't afford to pay the rent I'm paying at the salary you're offering here. He said, Rebecca, this will be an investment for you. We will take care of the rent. We just want you to come. And those are the words that stood in my head, investment. And indeed, I invested every minute, 7 days a week, 365 days a year into that place. Every day I'm there, living in the building 24 hours on call. I got it all together. And it was running like clockwork. And then suddenly, just before I got fired a few months, they're talking to me about when I was planning on retiring and moving to a smaller apartment, because originally I had a 2-bedroom apartment. I moved to a 1-bedroom. And then they were taking away responsibilities, asking me for different things on my checklist that I'd created and the hotel housekeeping setups. And I just felt when they got rid of me, when they just suddenly said to me, I'm sorry, dear, we're a valuable employee, but we're restructuring. We appreciate your work, but today is your last day. And they handed me a paycheck for 2 weeks vacation pay and to stay in the apartment for 1 year. After all my efforts, after everything I put into the place, just tossed me away like that. Just like, but not only, again, was I losing a job, but I was losing the hotel family that I had created and I look forward to seeing every day. And they were invested with the same investment I was. Let's make a great hotel.
Yeah, that's just so moving, Rebecca, and how they, as you indicated in the documentary, how you just really felt like, all the investment that you made in them. Not only did they make an investment in you, but you invested in them as well. Your time, your talent, you raise your kids.
It's really hard, to both
make a film, but also live every day in real time the truth of that film, right? As a son, and I, immediately needed to become an advocate for my mom. And I wasn't just telling her story, but I was trying to figure out the landscape. Like, why was she fired? What is age discrimination? How do you, fight back against it? How hard is it to do that? Like, how do you, how can I figure out how to, make enough money to now carry both of us, and that all happened, really immediately. I had to react from a place we both did of fear and of stress. And so it was very, very hard. I learned very quickly what it takes to be an advocate and what it takes to be a caregiver. And so that's that part. And I continue to do that. Why the film is called Duty Free is because really my mom came up with the idea. Initially, it was called Playing Hooky, sort of in production, because the idea was that we were taking her out on these bucket list adventures to do things she could never do. We were playing hooky, but we were told that, internationally that might not play. That's a very American term to be called playing hooky. And so my mom thought, well, why don't we call it Duty Free? Because, it's a double entendre. We're both in and out of airports, through the duty free, but also, what is a life without duty? How do you continue to move on when the one thing that you considered your duty, your work, is taken from you? And so it's a bit of a double entendre.
I love that, because when I was watching the documentary, I was like, I think I get it, but I'm not sure I get it. Yeah. And so I was like, I'm sure I got to ask that question.
That's it.
And I have to say that it was so inspiring to see how she was living out, Rebecca, how you were living out this bucket list, that a lot of times people just don't have the opportunity or the resources to do that. And so what a blessing it was to see that come to life through this, through your challenges that was highlighted at the top of this film. So to both of you, what impact does this really have on families financially, emotionally? And oftentimes, as we later learn, that it creates a whole new family dynamic.
Yeah.
We had never planned for anything like this happening. As again, investment, I thought I'd be there till they carried me out in my box. I never planned. I lived in the hotel. I could get food there. I had my uniforms there. I mean, it was okay. His education got paid off. I had my other son, Gabriel, who has his own apartment. I never planned for it. And what I've learned since then is how important it is for all families to have a conversation about the future and about your own future, because every one of you will be old. Every day you're a day older, and your time will come. And unless we enact laws to protect older people now, you'll be in the same situation to younger ones,
or maybe even worse. What I tell this story because I think it's really powerful and it's very true. And that it's that in making the film, filmmakers oftentimes will bring together other filmmakers, editors, et cetera, to get feedback on the film. And then you go back into the edit and you fix it. One person at one of these showings raised their hand and said, I can't really understand why you would take your mom on a bucket list journey when what she needs is a job. And I didn't know exactly how to respond to that with words. I knew how I felt inside. And one of my peers raised her hand and said, well, why can't poor people experience joy? And that to me was the essence of what I was trying to do here, in that, there are so many Americans who work every day of their lives, quite literally hand to the bone, and on a very measly paycheck, and are expected to just continue to do that with no real semblance of, what America is all about, sort of the dream of happiness and of success and all of those things. And so by way of the bucket list convention, like that was my way of not only thanking my mom, but showing her what joy could look like. And I think the journeys together obviously are fun, but what it did was it
it created a deeper bond between us. It made it really clear not only what she had to sacrifice for me that sort of I never noticed because I was a kid, and that role reversal of realizing like, oh my God, now in a lot of ways you're in control. And you have to, people see your mom as invisible. And so you need to make her visible to them. You need to make sure that her rights are maintained, that she is treated as a human, et cetera, et cetera. And so I guess for me, and not only did it bring us close together, I think it really made us realize this is an intergenerational fight, that ageism is everywhere, it is pervasive, and that we need to use our personal story to make sure other people tell theirs, so that we're safeguarded.
Great. Thank you for that, Sian-Pierre. So we're going to show us another clip, and so we're going to show the clip, and then we're going to get to one more question or two. And so, because we know we have some questions that people want to ask both of you, our stars. So let's hit the next clip.
People from around the world were touched by my mom's story and started to reach out.
Hello from Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka.
I think it's so great what you are doing. I can't wait to catch up with all your adventures. I hope you make it to Sri Lanka one day. We'll take you to swim with dolphins.
Sounds like fun. Bye, sounds like fun.
I was just fired at 53 years old, and I'm following in your footsteps and doing things that I've always wanted to do. Thank you. You are inspiring and beautiful.
Right back. Good luck. Good luck with you on your travels. Stay in touch.
What became evident as we went through the comments was how many people or people's parents had been let go late in life. Some were forced to retire, and others were terminated on account of charges they say never actually happened. My mom's story was more universal than we could have ever imagined.
India, China, Argentina, Brazil, Germany, England, every place imaginable in the United States are reaching out, understanding this story. It's something that needs to be brought up, the impact on people's lives. And really the rules governing employment.
And then my mom started connecting with some of the people who had written in.
I've been a nurse for more than 30 years and recently earned my master's degree in nursing and more than qualified for several different positions that I've applied for. And since I've hit my mid-60s, I haven't gotten them. They've always chosen somebody with less experience, less qualifications. There's no way I can prove that they've passed me over because of my age, but I'm getting all sorts of mailings from the hospital. Now that you're approaching retirement, you might want to do this or this or this or this. And I love what I do, so I don't really want to retire at 66.
People get old, and everybody plans for going to school, getting good education, going to a job, doing well in the job, getting bonuses, getting promotions. But there is little thought given to what happens after you're no longer a productive or perceived to be a productive or a valuable member of that company. What happens? What provision is made for people to continue living a lifestyle that they've worked so long for and have had to sacrifice for? You cannot put a price on sacrifice.
Thank you for that. And Rebecca, I want to know from, through your experience and having been on this whirlwind tour of promoting your film, what do you want people to take away culturally, and what do you want to see changed culturally and systemically throughout our country in the workplace to really kind of prevent this from happening?
I think there needs to be, especially since COVID, and so many people have lost their jobs, many of them in my industry, many of them immigrants. There needs to be some knowledge, general, that government, everybody knows where to go, what to do on their last day of work. I didn't know that. It doesn't tell me anything. I want the last page in a handbook that will describe exactly what will happen on the last day of work, whether you're fired, terminated, restructured as I was, or you quit. So that is bonding in writing. I have nowhere in writing that says this job will be an investment for you. I let my work define me. I did everything right, and it still happened. We need every organization to work together hand in hand so that we have special rules for people who get terminated in their old age.
And as part of our impact and engagement campaign with this film, doing things like this, but one of the things that we want to fight for and support my mom in is working with an HR organization or a company who's willing to try out that last page in the handbook. We all know what happens on our first day, what our benefits are, how many weeks we have off, but what is the employer on the hook for and committed to on behalf of their employee on the last day of work? Is there a website that they would go to find resources? Are they offering resources? Just so people are safeguarded. In the days and weeks and months after being fired, yes. Particularly if you've been an employee for decades.
Great. And so because we want to save time for some Q&A, I want to know from both of you, what do you hope, what is your vision for empowered aging? Like when you hear that, what does that say to you? And what do you hope people, how do you take away from this film and how to use this film?
I hope that just as racism and all the isms are addressed, that every employer shows films about ageism and encourages their staff to integrate and to work together and every website that anybody's applying to is not covertly asking how old you are, by scroll down to the last day finish high school and all that kind of stuff, which we're working on there. Tell them about the Bojo.
Yeah, I mean, I think to build off of that, really for me, empowered aging is around narrative change. In making this film, I realized that this film was a runaway success, okay? And you don't have very many films that star a 75-year-old every woman who is, from the middle class or even from the lower middle class, like we're not seeing those narratives of older people who are malleable and bright and curious and energetic and, have, a drive beyond anybody else. And so my call out is to Hollywood to say, why aren't we greenlighting more of these stories? Because if we could see what older people really look like and what intergenerational allyship really looks like every day on the ground in every city across this country, then we are hurting our future selves. Young people are opening up Netflix and HBO Max and all of these and never seeing what it looks like to actually be old. And so we have all of these narratives in our head that are not true, that only are harming people like my mom, people on this call, people across the country, and people across the world. And so, how can we consistently and continuously fight against these narratives that are really, rearing their heads in workplaces and in communities everywhere?
Great. And so, and Sian-Pierre, I had on my list to ask you, like, what do you want to happen? And you just eloquently answered that without me asking you. So absolutely, we want change to happen in places that where it's possible to happen, and elevate ageism and not make it look like age is a bad thing, because like Rebecca said, we're all going to age if we live long enough, right?
Period.
And so how do we embrace that in all aspects of our lives? And so we have a question. So, it reads, for years, it's been thought as soon as you have gray hair, which many of us do, you're sent to the back of the row. And so how should we respond while we're going about our everyday activities?
Well, I don't know. People, just even since the movie, oh my goodness, you're 80, you look so young. Or, I just recently saw on LinkedIn, for example, where a lady she'd started out at a really low entry-level position in a hotel, and suddenly now, 14 years later, she's a general manager. So I'm thinking, oh, great, that's wonderful, congratulations, well done. But other people are writing, And they showed pictures of her then and now, and people are writing, oh, you look so much younger now than you did then. Hello. Confront ageism when you see it. And I'm writing, well, it doesn't matter how she looks, and she looks beautiful. Let's congratulate her on how well she's done, and, and this kind of thing. We confront ageism when you see it. When people say, hello, dear, do you need help with that? No, I think I can handle it myself, but thank you.
Yeah.
This is people think because you're old, you can't do anything. I can do anything. There's nothing I can do. Nothing.
Yeah, you have to be an active agent in it. And, I think much like we see racist ads from yesteryear and we're like, how did anybody get away with that? Like, what? I think there will come a day where we look back on what we see on ads in the street, how people talk to each other and make small little jokes or whatever about older people, and kick ourselves for not taking a second to be like, let me push back on that for a second, or let me question about your thinking, or, and I think there are ways to do that aren't combative or retaliatory, but actually just engage conversation. Because the point is that like we need a large cultural consciousness shift, and that starts with a conversation.
And together we can do it. And I have this one saying, new brooms may sweep clean. That's the younger generation. The old brooms know all the corner. But together, you can clean up really good.
It's true.
I love that. So, Rebecca, our audience wants to know, did your employer feel any remorse about how they treated you? And hopefully they've seen this film. But did they have any remorse?
Sian-Pierre.
We have never heard back from the employer. They actually gave my mom a non-disparagement agreement, which a lot of these places will do, particularly if they feel like they might get in trouble. After that, we never heard anything else from them. But there was a huge article in the Boston Globe right on the front doorsteps of where it happened, because nobody's going to hold us back from telling our story, particularly if it's true.
It's true.
And so I hope that they've learned, and, we'd be open to having a conversation with them, but I don't expect one.
Gotcha. Do I see any more? We have any more questions in the chat here? So, Sian-Pierre, what were your favorite things about this whole bucket list experience?
Yeah, I mean, we get asked often what our favorite bucket list item is. I mean, I think for me, if it's a question for me, it's two things. One is the entire experience, made me think bigger about what I could do, the stories that I could tell. I was a TV journalist before, and so this was the first time that I made a film. This is my first film. And so it made me realize, wow, like you can think bigger professionally, and like it's not lost on me that my mom continued to give me that gift, right? Like that she allowed me to tell her story, and by way of like my entire career has changed. But then in terms of my favorite bucket list item, it was going back to the grave of my mom's sister, or my aunt. My mom wasn't able to get to her funeral because she was working. And so it made me really think about how often we prioritize work over life and love and family, and the regrets we might hold. What was your favorite bucket list?
And I did that. I let my work define you. So everybody, I learned one thing: family is everything. Don't put your family behind your work. Put them first.
Amen. And so, Sian-Pierre, have you thought about other platforms like TikTok that has become like a thing today?
Yeah, well, my mom has an Instagram. She's at Rebrexit, REBREXIT, and because she's British, and she has 50,000 followers there. And so we do have like quite a bit of traction, or she has quite a bit of traction on Instagram, and she's verified. And so you'll find posts of her doing housekeeping hacks, or, updating people about age discrimination laws that are in action. And so she's really using that platform. But we're thinking about others, and there also will be more things from us in the future that are sort of in line with the film, but not exactly tied to it. So we are working on some content beyond the film.
Going to England tonight?
And we leave for England tonight. We open the film in cinemas this weekend in London and Liverpool and throughout the UK. So the story continues.
Nice. And so what about like some of the streaming platforms like Netflix, Apple TV, Hulu?
Yeah. So we currently have some people might have seen us on PBS here in the States. It does go to Canada in some territories. So we will be on PBS concurrently for the next 2 years. So you can find us there. And we are looking at streaming services abroad. It's a rights thing. PBS owns the rights for 2 years here in the States.
They're showing it there.
And they're going to show it on Mother's Day here in the States. So we love them as a partner. It's amazing for anybody without any dollars to be able to watch PBS and see this film. But outside of the US, we're working on some streaming stuff.
Yeah. Great. Glad to hear it. And so, you get a lot of visibility for the film. And so have you seen any examples of how other countries are doing a better job at embracing age?
Well, I'm from Britain, and of course, we have a better pension program, whether you worked or not. Housing, Medicare is free. They have National Health Service is free. So there needs to be more benefits for people who are senior. I'm fortunate. I was educated. I have an advocate. Many of the people who worked for me or with me are immigrants. They don't have family here. They don't speak English a lot very well. Where do they go? What happens when they get old? They come for the American dream, as I did. You think you leave it, you're going to have a nice house, you're going to live happily ever after. And then something like this happens, or COVID, which is probably worse. And
happily ever after is relative, right?
That's right. Yes. And I think, it's really a structural thing, Felicia. Like, sure, I think in Europe generally, the way that they regard older folks anywhere but the States, frankly, is so different. And so that is baked into how, folks regard older people in their own families. And so, housing is provided, social safety net is provided, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's more than just the workplace level. It's really like a cultural shift that will affect the workplace.
And so this has been an amazing conversation. And so to wrap us up, I have to ask, and the audience wants to know, will there be a sequel?
There will not. Yeah, my mom, there will not be a sequel. I don't think, I like to say that if there ever was a sequel, it'd be my mom taking me on my bucket list because it's about time. But I just, now that we live together, it's really about sort of spending all the time that we have together without a camera in either of our faces. I think that I want to make memories that way. But as I said, there's a lot of content tied to the IP of this film that we hope to bring to folks over the next 2 years.
Great. This has been an amazing discussion. I hope everyone enjoyed meeting Sian-Pierre and Rebecca and enjoyed watching the clips of the documentary, and encourage you to go watch the full film. It's empowering. I love the bucket list, but I hope that everyone is empowered to take back what it means to age wherever you are, and honor aging in wherever you sit, whether it's in your organization, in your personal life, with your family. And this documentary has so many themes. And so I thank everyone for attending, and we hope that you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Bless you all.
Thank you all. And go to dutyfreefilm.com for all the information on the film. We really appreciate your time and to be in community with you and with you, Felicia. Thank you so much.
Such fun.
Absolutely.
Have a great day.